Hello. Welcome to the extended dialogue. If you're watching this, then you either like our faces or want to talk more about the Revenant, or you just accidentally clicked on this and right away you're like trying to stop the video right now or something like that.
Or all three. You like our faces, you want to hear more from us, but you accidentally clicked on this video and you don't want to see this.
It's like what? The faces aren't bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome here. So this is where we're going to take some time, like 20-30 minutes, and we're going to delve deeper into this. And
this, I just wanted to say,
go ahead.
This is going to be raw, pretty much unedited. We're just going to have conversation. You're free to join in.
Right.
You're free to comment, and we want to hear good comments from you.
You should comment.
Yeah.
You really should.
You should. Everybody should.
Right.
That's a good thing.
And let's tell you a little bit why we're doing this.
Yeah.
A little bit of
explain.
A little bit of backstory. So it's not just like people may be asking, Andrew and Derek, what are you guys doing? You're just making movies about movies, getting your faces on YouTube. Not really. I mean,
yes, that is happening.
We are doing that. That's happening.
A natural byproduct of what we're doing.
But why are we doing this? Okay, so just plain and simple. Movies are a big part of life nowadays, here and now, in Americas.
Or 21st century.
Or the States, however you want to say it. The travesty happens when people just watch a film and then go on to the next thing without discussing it, without thinking about it, without seriously considering it. So one of our jobs is to try to propel that. Some may say induce that.
Yes. You're giving birth to thoughts.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We want to start the dialogue. Okay? That's where you're at. You're at the dialogue right now.
Yeah, I mean, basically, just like books have a meaning, they have a purpose, the author has an intent behind that book, so do movies. Movies have meanings and reasons and intents by directors. It's not like a director just makes a movie just to make a movie, honestly. I mean, they all kind of have a story, a purpose, of, direction. That's why there's directors. So... yeah, I mean, that's what you got. And now, we want to kind of talk about that.
Now, I mean, there's some exceptions. Like there's subpar books and subpar movies, and this is where they just try to make money and, whatever.
Yeah,
so
that happens.
This is not the case with The Revenant. All right? So let's get into this. The Revenant is obviously, it's deeper than just surface level.
Right.
It is superbly done.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw our review, I'm assuming you have. You don't have to have, but we both gave it 10 stars.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so I guess the first layout, the map. This is going to be basically our touchstone before we dive deeper into the conversation. Basically, the story, and spoiler alert, people, in case you haven't seen the movie.
Right.
It's just this is good as spoils, okay? Right. All right. Anyway,
spoils will be plenty,
and we are continuing on.
Yeah,
we are moving on. Basically, the movie is about the character Hugh Glass, played by Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yep.
And we really, like, at the beginning of the movie, you don't know a whole lot about him, and I don't want to go into too many details about like the whole story, but just to more like tell you the general thing so that we're all on the same page.
Right.
Basically. He is, I guess, picked up by this fur trading company, this group of people who are making fur pelts and then selling them on the market.
Right.
This Indian group obviously has a beef with one of the dudes in the fur group, which turns out to be what's his name, Ferguson?
Well, Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald, yeah.
But I don't know. It's not like they're searching out for Fitzgerald right away, though. But
right, but that it comes to be that he's the guy that they're having beef with.
There's animosity. So, and this is seen like at the very beginning of the film.
Right. Which I kind of want to just continue keep giving the story first.
But
anyway, yeah.
Sorry.
Don't dive into it yet.
No, sorry.
All right, yeah. So
come back.
So basically, this Indian tribe has like a beef with these traders. Mm-hmm. They come in, they kind of like sweep the floor with them.
Havoc is
havoc. Yeah, and then a bunch of them kind of get like separated off, and they have to go their own ways.
Right.
Some of them go back to the town. These other two stay behind to help this one guy. Basically, Leonardo.
Yeah. So what happens is this small group. I think they mentioned like they had 40 people to begin with, and now they're down to 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get back to this small fort, which is like the town, the home base. And while they're going there, Glass, DiCaprio's character, gets mauled by a bear in the woods.
Yeah, which is super intense.
This scene is crazy. Okay, maybe we can talk about that. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll go back
That's
to that.
crazy. Anyways, so he's virtually on his deathbed, but still holding on to life.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for most of the people to get back to the fort, they have to leave him behind.
Mm-hmm.
Some people offer to stay with him, and then the rest go back. So essentially, it's a story of survival, right? Survival.
Yeah.
Because things happen. The Fitzgerald, who we mentioned, doesn't necessarily want the baggage of Glass.
Right. He's just in it for the money, in it for himself, selfish gain.
Right.
He ends up killing Glass's kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically Glass is out for revenge. It seems like the whole movie. And that's kind of where things end up leading.
Right. He leaves Glass for dead, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Which, just so you know, the Revenant, that's what the Revenant means, the title, right?
Right.
Somebody who comes back from the dead.
Looks like they're dead.
Or appears to have come back from the dead.
So, I mean, there's some interesting things to talk about there, too. Don't know if we'll be able to cover them all within the 30-minute time frame. However, we'll try and hit as much as possible, and then just leave the rest up to discussion in the comments.
Right.
So yeah, basically, this all happens. This all goes down. Obviously, Glass's character, or Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Glass, ends up finding, I guess, revenge, if you want to say it like that. But we'll talk more about that in detail.
Right. Some have called it a revenge story. But that's kind of what we're going to discuss.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that because there's some discussion there.
Right.
Anyway, basically, the Fitzgerald character, he ends up meeting his demise. And then the movie ends with this interesting shot. Right. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's start talking about this. I wrote down a couple of things just by way of discussion that we can kind of get things kick-started. I've got my handy-dandy notebook here.
Started with a kick. Was that a reference to Blue's Clues?
It was. I don't have a crayon, though. or an animated dog. I wish I did. That would be awesome.
Everybody should have an animated dog.
Yes.
Well, I take that back.
Yeah.
It would get really annoying if everybody had an animated dog.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this.
So first off on the list of things to talk about, I have the realism of the movie, which is perfect for the beginning of the movie because this kind of like just hits off to a good start.
Right. It's the tone, the tone hits you right at the beginning. Yeah,
absolutely. So a couple of things I guess I wanted to say in terms of the realism of the movie is when we were watching this movie in the theater, there are a couple of things right off the bat that just make it feel super realistic. Mm-hmm. This is probably one of the most realistic looking movies I probably have ever seen. Mm-hmm. Like, honestly. Mm-hmm. Number one is the way that the movie's shot, right? So the way that the camera just keeps rolling and it doesn't cut. There are massive scenes where it's just camera's rolling, people. Right. Do your thing, and this is going to go for an extended period of time. Right. And a lot is going to happen.
Right. It's not like the whole movie's one shot, but there's multiple extended shots, which are amazing. And they had to do a lot of rehearsal for that. To get people to know where they're going. And the camera, the guy doing the Steadicam, because I'm assuming it's just one guy, camera on his shoulder, tracking all these people. And everybody has to be a well-oiled machine.
Right. And that's the key, is everybody has to be a well-oiled machine. All it takes is one person to ruin the realism. Like, you would just watch this movie and you'd be like, that guy, he's not acting real in this situation. However, with the camera work and the music, honestly, it ramps up the tension. Right. It is amazing in that sense.
Right. So all the camera work and the stuff we mentioned, that's all we say behind the scenes. I mean, it is behind the scenes. Right. You're not thinking about that. So you told me about this, and I had a similar experience at the beginning.
Yes.
When there's the first clash of Indians and trappers, And I was telling you that the only point in the film that I laughed.
Yeah, which is right at the beginning.
The only point that I laughed was this one of the guys they're talking with each other. It's all guy talking. Somebody says something about his wife, and then the other guy says something about his wife too, and it's like a joke. It's kind of like your mom joke. For some reason, I just laugh at those. So anyways, like...
Courtesy laugh.
I chuckle, and this is still, this is a tracking shot, okay? So we've seen more people. This guy, I laugh, and then it goes behind his shoulder, and what do we see behind his shoulder?
There's this guy, buck naked, and he is, walking up on the camp. This to me, as soon as I saw what was happening, I was like, holy crap, this is real.
Right.
That's, it wasn't like, whoa, that guy's naked. It was like, what is going on here?
And as soon as you register it, he's shot with an arrow in his back.
Yeah, and it's violent. This isn't like Lord of the Rings violence where somebody's shot with an arrow and somehow they managed to take down several hundred orcs. You know what I mean? This isn't Boromir.
I think I know what you mean, Derek.
This is realistic. If you were shot with an arrow, pieces of flesh would be flying off your body,
right?
And you'd be pierced, and blood would be. And it's not over exaggerated.
No.
I don't want to paint this picture in people's mind where it's like a Quentin Tarantino film, and somebody's getting shot and just stuff is flying everywhere. It's not like that.
It's not violence for the sake of violence.
Right. It's
real. It's realism.
It's realism, and it feels real.
The way I described it to him was, most of the times I don't know how they do necessarily if you're gonna have a Boromir type thing.
Right.
Obviously they used props for that, but in the background, just CG in those arrows. Just edit them in post.
Yeah.
And usually that's how it feels too. It's the guys are just pretending like they're getting assailed with arrows or something like that, and they're all editing them in with computers.
Just edit in a bunch of arrows right now. If I could do that, I would, but I'm not good enough yet. So.
Moving on.
Yeah,
so this film does not feel like that.
No.
I am and I'm watching this. I'm first I'm stunned, and then I'm terrified, and then I'm actually fearing for these people's lives.
Yeah,
because it feels
brings you there.
It feels like they're actually getting hit with arrows, which is killing them. The realism was so visceral that towards the end, when the finale or the climax is happening, with the face-off between DiCaprio and Tom Hardy, or Glass and Fitzgerald, you knew it was going to happen, and because of the tone set and everything, the first scene we were talking about, the bear maul scene, that is crazy. I was like, I don't want to see this fight because it's going to be too real, and it totally was. It totally was real. It was real. It was real.
Guys, it was real. It was real. It was real fighting.
It was. Oh man. It wasn't too graphic either. It wasn't graphic for the sake of being graphic. It was. It was realistic. Backwoods. I just want to kill you any way possible, or survive any way possible.
Honestly, it's kind of like this. It's the feeling you get if you try to mentally put yourself in the position of you're having to kill somebody with your own bare hands kind of feeling, that is literally the feeling that you get at some of the moments in this movie. It's this dude is killing this guy, and it feels real, and it's intense. You're invested.
Which is, that's exactly what you want, because that's a huge thing, human life. And to sum, I guess, this aspect of the discussion all up, and we're going to mention people's interaction with human life, because a lot of this film is just really dark, as we mentioned. But in hindsight, after the film is all over, what you take away is the value of human life is raised.
Yeah, because of the realism.
Right, because all this stuff is presented like that. It's presented in an impactful way, that this stuff actually matters.
Honestly, it made me feel grateful for my life.
Right.
Honestly, after watching that, I was like, man, some people probably lived like this. You know what I mean? This is a real situation for some people.
It's based off of a true story.
It feels real.
Moving on
through that.
Let's talk about some of the themes, right?
Yeah, so So
man.
I think we kind of talked about, we
man.
kind of covered two of the topics that I had.
Okay.
One was the
good.
realism of the movie, and then the other one was kind of like the themes of the movie. So just to kind of touch back on that, the way that they handled nudity in this movie, or sex,
right.
I should say rape, because it's more just rape.
Right.
Was really well done. Like, honestly, it was really well done. I would watch this movie with my wife, and I would not feel like bad about this at all. I wouldn't feel like she needed to be censored because of this. There is like full frontal male nudity in this movie. However, the way that it's presented is non-sexual. Like, none of this is like sexualized. None of this entices the viewer to be like, oh, I want to participate. Like, it's not like that at all.
Right.
You will see nudity. However, it's so brief and so I guess it's done in a realistic way, like to the situation.
Right. Like I said, it upholds the value of life, and that's all aspects of it. Well, I mean, obviously the film doesn't touch on everything,
right?
But including sexuality. Right. So the thing that we see, it's bad, and it's seen as bad.
Right.
And when there's we'll probably talk about this a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But DiCaprio's character saves this girl, or at least
from being raped,
stops the act. And that comes back around to actually impact him for better later, which is directly the opposite of something else really big to the plot of the movie that Fitzgerald does that comes back around to him later in a negative way, because it was a negative thing.
Which I do want to clarify. I said that there's rape. The rape in this movie is not like nudity. There is actually no nudity at that scene.
Right now.
There is thrusting. I mean, like, just to be a little bit more graphic about it and let you know what it actually is. There is some thrusting.
Let you know what's up.
There is the action happening. However, it's presented in such a way where it's not glorified in any way. It's like this is a demonizing thing. You know, like this is bad.
Right.
But anyway, so that's interesting. Now moving on to the trees and the symbolism of the trees.
I love this. I love this
throughout the movie.
Okay, so the line, there's pretty early on, DiCaprio, Glass is having dreams or flashbacks to his wife.
Right, which his wife is killed in some kind of massacre of her town. Right. The town that he was apparently a part of for a period of time. Right. We kind of just get like a little glimpse of that, not really filled in that much. I think a lot of it's left up to the audience's interpretation, but...
Right. But family was a big thing for him, and he loses his wife, but is able to save his son. So his son's really big to him.
Right.
Okay, and like, you can actually, you can kind of pick up on the theme of the symbol of a tree before the lines are spoken, but pretty soon you'll hear explicit lines to his wife telling him, you look at the tree. It's very stable, but if you're going to focus on the branches, when the wind blows, it doesn't look like it's stable.
Right.
But if you focus on the trunk and having its roots embedded into the ground, it's very stable.
Unwavering, yeah.
Unwavering. And I just love this because, I mean, that's referenced a few times, but visually, it's referenced multiple times. You have shots of the trees, so even the first shot, the title shot of the movie is you're going over this stream, and it's just a really beautiful thing. Like, I think we've mentioned the photography of nature here, but there's this great stream with running water, and the water is just being conformed to the pathway given to it by all these trees with roots in the ground, and the water just has to flow around them because the trees aren't moving. There's many shots where they'll look up to the trees, which is a beautiful thing, and then you'll see like a breeze go through and the branches will move, but you're just staring at the trees.
You know what's interesting that I just thought of? And this is kind of like moving into like, I feel like the picture of the trees is kind of tied into a couple of other things I have to discuss. Yeah. Like, for instance, the presence of God or absence of God in the movie. This actually brings up a very interesting point. And I'm going to throw this idea out there.
Throw it out.
Because, you know, we both come from Christian backgrounds. You know, we're believers of the Bible. And so I see like biblical themes in movies. But what's really interesting about the trees that I just started thinking of is Psalm 1.
Right, I mentioned this to you, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about it, like, honestly, because like Psalm 1 goes, the righteous are like a tree planted by streams of water.
Right.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. But the wicked are like chaff too, which the wind drives away, which is kind of like the branches, like it's kind of like that.
Right.
And so I was thinking about that, and I was like, the bad guy, Fitzgerald, is like the branches of the tree. And then Leonardo's character, Glass, he is like the tree that's planted by rivers of water. And what is that he's getting that strength from? And I think from the movie it's implied that it's God and family. Like, I think it's implied.
Big themes.
But I think that I actually like the movie even more because of that. Like, I just made that connection in my mind. You mentioned it, but it's all coming together now. Like, in my mind.
And even at the very end, like the end scene where he just puts him into the river and he floats down.
Right.
Maybe that's kind of symbolic of just him being blown by the wind.
Perhaps.
Okay, so let's tie in the themes of presence of God, absence of God, and then maybe just mesh those two together.
Yeah. So
because, like, right off, just talking about the trees, like it's not super explicit, but you automatically kind of get this idea that in order for Glass to survive, he needs to be strong, not like the branch, not like a tree. He needs to be strong like a tree, and it's kind of presented as kind of a revenge tale. So his son gets killed by Fitzgerald, so he has to survive and be strong like a tree to get Fitzgerald.
Yes.
But when we tie in some of the dialogue that references God or the Creator, it gets kind of interesting. And I love it.
Because he meets like this Indian guy who basically starts talking to him about revenge, actually.
Right.
Because basically, Glass, the character Glass, he is wandering around on his own, basically on the verge of dying. He's been wounded mortally by despair and all this stuff that's happened to him.
Yeah.
He runs across this Indian guy, and the Indian guy is basically starts taking care of him and is like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I lost my family. My family was killed, and my son was killed." And this Indian guy was like, "My family was killed too."
Right.
He's like, "But revenge is in the hands of the Creator," or something along those lines. He says something like that.
Right.
And then he says, "So follow me. I'm going back to my people." Is basically what he's like. He's like, "I'm not seeking revenge. I'm not going after anybody. Right. I'm going back to my home to be with my people."
Right.
And that's where it's really good, because this idea of God is brought up. And then you have the flip side of that, which is brought up by Fitzgerald's character, where he kind of like makes light of God. And even he calls himself God at one point. He's like, because him and this other boy character are kind of out in the wild. The boy. They're talking, and he's basically like saved his life twice, basically, and he's like, well, I should be God to you, kind of thing. Which he actually endangers his life a lot more than he saves it, which is interesting.
He's the character that has disregard. One of the characters that has just disregard for human life.
Yes, he does. And so it's interesting that he says like, "I'm like God to you." But then the other thing that he says is he's talking about, we believe it's Glass's character, when he's sitting around the campfire talking to the boy, and he's like, "Yeah, Glass said that he found God atop this mountain."
Right, and he specifically mentions, for me this is kind of big,
yeah, go ahead.
So it's like a campfire story scene, and he's talking about, like we said, Glass wandering into the wilderness, and he mentions that he's among the trees, and he finds God. And then there's like this moment, and you're trying to let this sink in, and be like, what exactly is he meaning there?
Right.
And then he turns it around on its head and says something like, God was a chipmunk or a squirrel. God was a squirrel, and I shot and ate him. He's like, I shot this squirrel and I ate him. That's what I did. And it's kind of like a funny thing that Fitzgerald is saying. And at that point, you wonder if maybe they're saying something like, you have to be strong like a tree. You can't rely on God.
Right.
Like, maybe it's all about our human empowerment. We can't rely on outside religious or hokey religions.
Right.
And that sort of thing. Fate. I mean, all this stuff. You just
Providence.
Be strong in yourself. But that's not the only way to interpret it, because it's Fitzgerald, and he's kind of making fun of it. And also other things that this film has in it that are just super.
Right.
Like what we just mentioned with the Indian talking about the creator, and him coming to the Indian coming to this realization that I can't take revenge, and that having an impact on Glass.
Right, on his character, on Leo's character. What's interesting too is that right after that moment, he's kind of going through this stage where he's kind of fading in and out because he's been wounded really badly, so he's kind of passing out a lot.
Throughout the whole movie, yeah.
Throughout the whole movie, he's having dreams and visions and things like that.
Right.
Well, one of the visions that he has is of like this church that's been broken down. And it's really interesting because out of all the things to focus on in this church, they decide to focus on two things. One is Jesus Christ, like a crucifixion scene of Jesus Christ like painted on a wall. And then the other thing is that he sees his son and he grabs and hugs his son, and then it like zooms out and it's a tree. Like he's holding on to a tree. But this is all in a vision or in a dream that he's having. It's not like he literally went to this church building and then hugged a tree. Right. It's like he's having this. So this is all symbolic, from my understanding, because it's all just a dream.
It was put in there for a reason.
Yeah, and so it focuses on two things. One is Jesus Christ in the crucifixion scene, and then the other one is the tree. I think, personally, and this is just me theorizing and throwing this out there, I think it makes a whole lot of sense.
Throw it out.
Is that, like I said earlier, the symbolism with the tree is his tree. What's making him more like the trunk of the tree is that he holds on to God and to his family. Like, basically that's what he feels. Right. There's also this real close tie-in with God's son was killed. Obviously he was crucified. And Glass's son was crucified not crucified, but killed as well. Right. And so God is going to take not revenge but vengeance on the world.
I don't know, maybe you can say it's
for their sin.
Maybe revenge is a cruel word.
Yeah, but I'm just going to say vengeance because that's biblical, I guess.
Right. I like the word justice.
Yeah, justice. He's going to take justice out on the world for their sin.
Right. I feel like for me just the term justice is the thing that encapsulates kind of everything that we talked about.
Yeah.
So like the strength of the trees. I almost view the strength as issuing from fate or God's ordained justice, because of the things I think we mentioned this before. So there's good deeds that are repaid and bad deeds that are repaid, and one of the most powerful moments in the film for me. So there's this canteen that one of the guys is scraping this just pattern on, and they give it to Glass, and then they leave him for dead, and then they make it back to the fort, little town, the Haven of Rest, and it's assumed that he's dead. Like, he should be dead. He is dead. Right. And eventually, this random guy comes back and he says, like, this crazy thing happened with some Indians and some fighting. And one of the items that he carries back with him is this flask. Right. With the etching on it. And he lays it down on the table, and as soon as Fitzgerald, Tom Hardy's character, sees this, you have this moment where it's like, your sin will find you out. Your sin's finding you out, boy. It's like, how in the world is that possible? Like, that's not possible. Which, yeah, I mean, the explanation would be that justice, as it's going to be shown here, is strong. It's so strong that nothing can dissuade it from happening. Right. Right? And the instrument by which that's going to happen is DiCaprio's character, Glass. And so that last scene, you get that last line in there by Leonardo's character where he's like, justice is going to be served. Or justice is the Lord's or God's, kind of thing. So he quotes the Indian. Right. And then you have that final shot where he kind of looks at the camera too, which... Right. So... But I want to talk about this more, but we're like right at that 32-minute mark. That's right. We're going to call it quits. The dialogue is not over, though. Yeah, we're going to be commenting on this. Please join in. If you've seen the movie, join in. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Right. Especially if you don't come from a Christian background. I'm interested to hear what you thought about this. Because I'm sure people will watch this who, they're like, I'm not religious at all.
please comment. I want to know what you thought about it. I want to know what your takeaway from the movie is. Maybe we're reading too much into it, and I want to be told that.
Maybe not.
Like, just be like, hey, you're reading into things. Even Christians, if you're like these guys.
Right. You can type in that.
Rocker.
Can you type in that voice too? Like,
Yeah.
hate the rating anime.
Yeah, just type in there using Derek's mocking voice.
Yes.
Yeah, anyway.
Do that. Or Andrew's, which is more like a whiny.
Yeah.
It's more like a whiny type thing. But yeah, go to the comments.
Yeah.
And let us know what you think.
Yeah.
We're going to interact with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. If you like this video, please press the subscribe button. We're going to be coming out with a lot more videos. Mm-hmm. We're going to be shooting for 100 subscribers. Let's say within 2 months. 2 months, we want 100 subscribers.
We can do that. We can do 100 in 2 months.
I got faith.
That's right. And you can be a part of that.
Yeah.
Just click. It's like just this finger going down. Or if you're left-handed, I'm sorry, left-handed people. I'm sorry that you're left-handed. I'm sorry for excluding you there.
I'm sorry for people who don't have hands.
You know what? If you're right-handed, I want you to hit subscribe with the left hand.
If you don't have hands, then use whatever you have. Just press the button. Use your nose.
Subscribe.
I don't know. Yeah, and we'll be coming out with more. But for now, this has been The Dialogue, and we hope you enjoy and participate.
That's right. Later.
Let's do this.